Gamers. Emphasis on the yeah. We're back with another video from my husband about Wuthering Waves. And so my husband made a video, said Wuthering Waves versus Genshin. Why we need to compare gacha games. You're always good lord. I don't think anyone said it's the worst gacha game. It's the worst gacha game out of the big four, though, right? And so I don't know why people get so pressed when you compare gacha games. I think comparison is natural. Obviously, I think comparisons have to make sense. I feel like if you compare Genshin to Wuwa, that makes sense. If you compare HSR to, let's say, this new Memento game that's coming out, or even Etheria Restart, I think that makes sense. If you compare Wuwa to ZZZ, doesn't make as much sense. You know what I'm saying? But so, yeah, I think when Wuwa dropped, it really showed a lot of people who are like, "Oh, the game is fine," that it wasn't fine. So let's see what my baby daddy Glaivekiyo has to say about this. Let's get right into it. Oh, it's muted. I'm sorry, Gay. Okay.
Kind of loyalty that forms when you don't have other options. Not real loyalty, more like Stockholm Syndrome and daily missions. You start defending your multi-billion-dollar company and justifying things that you probably...
Guys, I'm sorry. I will never defend a company. I don't. I can't. I mean, I guess maybe a little bit with the SAG-AFTRA stuff, but other than that, I think defending a company is really cringe. I think virtue signaling over being a company warrior is cringe. Absolutely. Unless you're on their payroll and like that's what you're getting paid to do, just stop being a weirdo. You're like, you don't look cool. You just look like a bum, you know? It was a good group. It starts about an hour.
Probably shouldn't. And you tell yourself, they will improve the game next patch. Maybe they are saving for the good stuff. They are preparing for the big update, the new region.
Oh, yeah.
I know my Dawei won't let me down. And then before you know it, you are 4 years deep into a live service game that still hasn't added a loadout system. Embarrassing. It is not that players are gullible. It is that most people genuinely want to believe. You invest time, you get attached to the characters, you build your communities, and the sunk cost starts looking a lot like comfort. The stagnation felt like stability.
And when that's all
you know, you stop asking why things aren't better. You just kind of adapt. And that is what makes monopolies so insidious. It is not the lack of competition, but the illusion of contentment. The idea that what you're getting is just how these gacha games are. That maybe it's
Bro, if you think this is an artifact loadout, I have something to tell you. You've never played a real video game in your life. Call of Duty. Any other video game, Wuthering Waves, bro, Etheria Restart has loadouts already. Like, this is not a loadout. This is a fast equipped, in the custom configuration, you're only able to save a preset for one artifact set. This is not a loadout. I don't know how people can even misconstrue this as a loadout. I thought it was a loadout at first, the way they were promoting it. And then after that, I was like, oh, it's not a loadout. Okay, well, now I feel like an asshole. Now I feel like stupid for defending the game for a second. 5 years, by the way. 5 years, by the way.
Reasonable to expect more from a genre that built its empire on RNG.
Insane.
But here's the thing. None of that holds up once real competition shows up. Because suddenly, the excuses don't land. The sweet promises ain't charming anymore. And if you're defending the game, you will look like a total clown. And that brings us to now. Because if you want to understand the situation of the current gacha landscape, you have to go back. Not to the beginning, but to 2020. When one game didn't just launch, it rewrote the rulebook. It was genre defining. And for a
they're apparently making the loadout next patch. You can barely save 2 presets. I mean, you know what, man? We'll see what happens. I think it's 5 years too late, personally, and I think the game needs it more now than ever. But I mean, hey, like, you know, the game is just. I think it's cooked. I think it's cooked. They're only doing loadouts now because every other gacha game is doing it, right? Etheria Restart's doing it. Wuthering Waves is doing it. I'm sure Azure, Premilia, NTE, all these other games. I'm sure they'll have some sort of loadout system. You know what I'm saying? Like. Really, and again, like you have content creators. This is why I stopped playing Genshin, because anytime I would criticize it, obviously the game was just falling off for me. I thought Fontaine, I thought they brought it back. The first 2-3 patches of Fontaine were magical. They were amazing. And after that, it kind of fell off a cliff a little bit. But anytime I would criticize it, like, oh no, not my dear Genshin, not my dear Genshin, and I'm like, okay, like sure, I guess you like having locked talents to each day of the week. And if you don't log in, there's no resume, there's no nothing. It's like, all right, man, like, sure. So I just kind of stopped playing at that point. I stopped interacting with the community. I can't tell you how many times I was told to off myself in game because of that. I was like, all right, cool.
For a
I'm out.
while, everyone else just folded.
Just a bunch
Let's
of idiots.
dive into it. You really
Okay,
can't
bet.
talk about where
Yeah.
we are now without going back to 2020, when Genshin Impact first launched and basically detonated the entire gacha space. A free-to-play open-world RPG that actually looked good, felt good to play. It was basically Breath of the Wild, but completely free. It was ridiculous. Nobody had seen anything like it, especially not in the gacha scene. And because of that, Genshin didn't just launch, it dominated. For a while, it didn't matter what other games were doing.
Yo, what's
The
good, Val?
moment
What's good,
any
brother?
new
Good morning, good
gacha
morning.
with anime art
Good morning,
came
homie.
out, people slapped the Genshin clone label on it, usually
True.
without even looking at the mechanics. The bar was set and it was so high. Most games didn't even try to compete directly. You had Genshin and then you had everything else. Even when Honkai Star Rail released, there was this weird momentum of optimism. Like maybe finally, Hoyoverse would have to fight for attention across two flagship titles. But then you remembered, it is still the same parent company, different developers.
Dude, you remember when like there was so much infighting? Like I feel like people really have selective memory and don't forget how the Genshin Impact fans and the HSR fans were legitimately fighting each other, right? And even some of the big content creators like, damn, we have this in HSR, but we don't have it in Genshin Impact. Like that's where Genshin could never came from. It came from the fact that Hoyoverse literally just neglected their other game. Also, yo, what's good, Onyx? Good morning, brother. I lost my 50-50. Your next 10 pull, it's guaranteed, brother. But Damio, man, I'm sorry to hear that. How you feeling? Good morning, good morning. Is Eula still the hottest character? Yeah, she's up there. Leslie, good morning as well. Good morning, good morning, good morning, boys.
But the profits go to the same people. So
Actually, now that you bring up 50-50, I hope Glaive brings up 50-50s. While Wuwa doesn't have 50-50 on the weapon banner, I'm telling you right now, in my personal opinion, I think these gacha games will make substantially way more money if they got rid of these 50-50 systems, guaranteed characters, guaranteed weapons, even if you want to make the pity a little bit higher, and then just dropped a bunch of skins. Just monetize the skins, monetize apparel. Because the 50-50 system, I think, kills it for a lot of people. Obviously, it makes sense business-wise, but it gets to the point where it's just too much. To the point where it's just too much. And I was like, I'm good. I ain't swiping on a game. It's got a 50-50.
the comparisons, Genshin
Sidebar.
could never or Honkai Star Rail
Yep.
is generous. They were fun, but kind of pointless. You weren't
Damn,
watching
me and
two
Glaive
titans
wouldn't sing,
clash.
okay?
You were watching a
Okay.
multi-billion-dollar company play chess against
True.
itself. And that is the thing. With no actual rivals in this specific lane, Genshin
True.
Impact and Hoyoverse basically had the monopoly on open-world gacha games. It didn't have to adapt. It didn't have to evolve. It just was. If you liked the
Yeah.
game, you either accepted its flaws like the stingy resin system, the
Good job, good morning.
50-50 pity, the endless story quest, or you quit the game. That was the
I prefer the 1090 system. I don't deserve the protection, and Hoyo and Karo have designed for me. Yeah, I'd rather just actually have a 10% win rate, 90% loss rate, so that way I can get the feeling of some sort of serotonin running through my blood, so that way it gets me pumped, it gets the people going, right? Yo, good morning, 99 hits. How you feeling, brother? Welcome in. 50-50 makes people quit. Oh, absolutely, 100%. Tons of people quit the game for 50-50, and also realistically, especially in Hoyoverse's case, they made billions of dollars. They can afford to stop that shit, you know. So Woo's gonna follow the PGR gotcha system. I didn't really expect it to do that at my. I'm not gonna lie to you because the PGR gotcha system I feel like is just nowhere near as profitable. Well, actually, you know what? No, I don't know if that's necessarily correct. No, I retract that statement. I don't agree with that statement. I just think more of less that I feel like they saw what Genshin did, and realistically, all right, let's just copy that, but make it a little bit better, so that way it's like, hey, we're better than the competition. I don't think that it's not as profitable. I don't agree with that statement. But yeah. So yeah.
only option. And I don't think people really understood how bad that dynamic was until options finally start to appear. When one game owns the lane, there is no
Yeah.
pressure to innovate. And honestly, you could feel that. The updates feel like it's diluted. The quality of life changes took years to implement. The monetization stayed as aggressive
That new daily system still sucks, by the way.
as ever. Because
Still
where
dog
else are
shit.
you gonna go? That is why talking about this era matters. It is not just talking about nostalgia or
Valid,
criticism.
Matt.
It is all the
Valid.
context. Genshin didn't just dominate. It defined what this genre could be. And because it didn't have anyone breathing down its neck, it also defined what it could get away with. And that is exactly why the space needed to change. We said this earlier, but the thing about monopolies is that they don't have to try. When there is no pressure from the outside, growth becomes optional. And in Genshin's case, you could see that shift very clearly over time. Updates starts to feel stale and stagnant. Not necessarily bad, just very predictable. The events blended together. The quality of life fixes either arrived years late or missed the point entirely. Like at some point in the live stream when they're announcing a new quality of life change, you would be like, who asked for this? Yeah, that is the exact same
Oh, Ethan cameo. Oh, Ethan cameo. Oh, Ethan, wait, run that back.
Life fixes either
Run that
arrive
back.
years late
Run
or
that
miss the
back.
point entirely. Like at
Ah.
some point in the live stream when they're announcing a new quality of life change.
Yeah, that shit was trash, bro. This is the most out of touch thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm not gonna lie to you. I remember I got a lot of people telling me that I'm a hater for this. If you're looking up your Benny mail from 4 years ago, you're a fucking idiot. Straight up. You're just a fucking idiot. If this is the quality of life you wanted, compared to an artifact system, fixing resin, they have a lot of systems in the game that are already catering towards casuals, but they don't activate for recurring players. It's just trash, man. Did I miss ZZ? No, Ginger, it's about an hour. Also, welcome in, Car. Good morning. So, yeah, W. Ethan mentioned right there. Absolutely.
You would be like, who asked
no
for
pre-watch,
this?
by the way.
Yeah,
No
that is
pre-watch, by
the
way.
exact same feeling. Because people would ask for things like loadout presets, faster strongbox updates, actual harder endgame, and we would get like new furnitures in the Serenity pot, new cards in the TCG.
Oh, I got
like, what? You need to understand it is not because the devs didn't hear us, but because they didn't have to listen in the first place. The core systems barely evolved. The Spiral Abyss has been practically the same since launch. The same structure, the same rewards. The only difference is how much the HP has inflated for the latter part of the floors. It is still catered to the limited characters that are featured that patch. The resin still feels like a leash, and the weapon banner is still the same borderline scam it has always been. Even with it having a pity later on in the game, it is basically the same predatory system but with glitter on top. None of it changed, because why would it? The game had no real competition. But the funny thing is, we stayed.
I will give them credit. They did take it down from 2 fate points to 1. It still sucks. It's still not fun. But I will give them credit for that. Now, actually, I retract that statement. I won't give them credit for it. It took them 4 years to do that. Never mind. They can go fuck themselves. Never mind. Also, if people, I feel like people don't understand why I dislike Genshin and Hoyo as much. They treat their content creators and their fans like dog shit. And they also laid off every person a part of the Hoyo creators NA, which is fucking disgusting. So I want to make this very clear. I don't think this is a company anyone should defend. They've made billions of dollars off of all of us. I feel like it's so stupid to go to bat for this company. And there's situations like how Envy took low sponsorship deals and fucked it up for a lot of people, and other CCs did that as well. It's like, when you defend this shit, I think you just look fucking really goofy. You know what I mean? I think you look really, really fucking goofy, and you probably don't have the full context of everything, which is, I don't know how you don't have the full context 4 years in. But yeah, I think they're a dog shit company. They're not as bad as Nintendo, but I think low-key they're like the Nintendo gacha. Also, was a good Ryo. Yeah,
actual communities formed around coping with the game. People are venting, memeing, theory crafting around every content that barely shifted year to year. And when people got burned out, they didn't quit gacha entirely. They just kind of floated. Because if you still wanted that specific mix, the open world, the real-time combat, the gacha pulls, there was literally nowhere to go. And that is the cost. Not just in money, but in momentum, in choice. A genre that started with so much potential, slowly folding in on itself because one game held all the cards. But even when creators have been outspoken about this, you probably see it in the comments. Well, stop comparing, just enjoy both games. I'm so tired of the gacha tribalism. And sure, in a perfect world, yeah, maybe everyone is just gonna be happy in their own little world, but this isn't that. This is gacha. And in that space, comparisons are necessary.
No, it's bullshit. Listen, gacha tribalism's toxic. I don't think anyone would sit here and tell you gacha tribalism cannot be toxic. Absolutely. But comparisons are critical for all the games to grow. And to say, well, just play your own game. Again, when one game literally shook and moved the whole genre space and in a negative direction, other games preceding it, including other Hoyo titles, are now trying to reel it back into a positive direction. When you say that, it's just disingenuous, right? It's just disingenuous, and you come off fucking stupid. I like, you know what I'm saying? I just let you enjoy my foot and ass and Genshin. Absolutely. I miss the days when Hoyos used to be like Koro. I'm gonna be real with you, bro. Like, they were like Koro, quote unquote, like Koro for maybe like 6 months in HSR, and hopefully they continue to be like that with ZZZ. But the only reason why they're like that with ZZZ is because ZZZ is not living up to their standards. So it's an unfortunate situation. Also, I gotta
because when you're spending your time or your money on these games, you are engaging with systems that directly compete for your attention and for your wallet and for your patience. So when Wuthering Waves enters the room doing their version of open world and flashy combat, of course it's going to be compared to Genshin. That is not fanboy behavior, that is just the context. And more importantly, comparisons force developers to evolve. When one game introduces better pull rates or more transparent pity or less exploitative banners, it puts pressure on the rest of the market. And that is how
Absolutely.
quality rises. That is how systems improve. If no one ever held these games side by side, you would never get a free 5-star. You would never get a new endgame, and you are gonna log in the game every day like it's a job. So
I ain't gonna lie to you, Weeble still sucks.
when people say stop comparing, what they're actually doing, intentionally or not, is discouraging critique. And that is dangerous, because without critique, complacency wins. The goal here isn't to start unending gacha tribalism wars, it's to create pressure, to let developers know that yes, we are paying attention, and yes, we will notice when someone else is doing it better. So when Wuthering Waves drops and suddenly the silence breaks, it is not just that it launched, it is that it came out swinging. You've got freedom of movement that actually feels like freedom. You have got a pity system for weapons.
What's good, Sam? Has anyone noticed the new Woo vid? Which one? Woo was dog shit? Absolutely, Gideon. What was the worst game of all time?
That isn't.
Can't wait for Enfield now, so Hypergriff can sell publishing through Griffline. Yeah, I think Enfield's going to be great. Very much looking forward to Enfield. I also think Enfield's going to make Enfield is going to change the gacha system. Very excited for that.
Just a
Very
math
excited
problem with extra steps. And then there's that
Sorry,
rarest
I
of
tweet real
things
quick.
in gacha. Design that feels like it was made by people who read the feedback of the players. You know what's funny though? The irony is that a lot of what Wuthering Waves is doing isn't new. It is just what Genshin players have been asking for since day one. Things like the gear loadouts, or making exploration easier so it shows everything on the map in game, instead of a website that loads really slowly just to collect your ascension flowers. These are really basic stuff, but
I find it interesting when I criticize the monetizing exploration the way they did in Natlan, and people tell me that, well, there is a free-to-play alternative, and then they make a false equivalency when they say, well, look at Zany and Peep, and they're like, well, you say Spectral Rover's fine with Zany. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, again, it comes off. I feel like we've gotten to the point where people just don't want Wuwa to succeed. And I'm sure there's people who don't want Genshin to succeed either. Like, again, I think being tribalistic to either company, like, I'm not a fucking Korobot or Hoyo Shill. I'm just being honest with you. And I've never been paid by Koro before. I haven't been paid by Genshin either, technically. Just weird, man. It's just weird. Like, the more we go into it and the more positive things that Wuwa has, they're like, let me find a way to equate this to Hoyoverse in a negative light. And it's like, again, these false equivalencies just run so fucking rampant. It's like, and then people run with them, right? They're like, oh my god, Maggie said there's 50% power creep. This is shit lolly. And it's like, oh god, we're fucking lost. Yo, Solo, what's up, gamers? What's going on, brother? By the way, how do you get different endings in the film event? Don't know yet. We'll try to hopefully figure that out today, you know? Took money from children. True. I want both to succeed. Absolutely, man. I feel like the most human take I can provide you with is I don't want any game to fail due to the fact that, I mean, realistically, people are going to lose their jobs, right? And that's their livelihood. Now, I don't think Hoyoverse is going to fail. Also, Kaz, good morning. So I never want a video game to fail. Like when Tribe 9 EOS is like, hey, man, that's devs that probably ain't going to get food on their table anymore, right? I know we can make fun of it and call it Tribe 9 months or whatever, but like, yeah, absolutely. You don't want these things to fail, right? Absolutely. And I spoke about this with Josh yesterday. As a content creator, I think people, they don't understand. The less good gacha games that are in this space, or the less playable gacha games, the less, less predatory gacha games, the worse it is for creators, right? If the game didn't suck, I don't have to farm it. If the game was just simply good and it wasn't a predatory piece of shit, just play it. I just play it and make fun content on it, right? And I hope to go that route with ZZZ with this new update. So, if so, yeah, I got you, Solo. Don't worry, brother. Both succeeding is better for everyone. Absolutely, Gamma. Absolutely. And again, I've said this story multiple times. I'm not even trying to be funny with you. I've met the woman that I'm gonna marry through a Genshin Impact collab. Like I will always have love for the game because of it helped me start a career in content creation as well as help me meet my future wife. But like that doesn't mean the game can't be trash, you know. Blame publishers, not the devs. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The suits have more powers than the devs, obviously.
These are also stuff that got ignored until now. And suddenly, coincidence.
Where do people, streamers, even draw the line on what makes a gacha predatory? That's a great conversation I'd love to have the second this video ends, because this recording's already 20 minutes long, but I got you.
Genshin starts doing things that it never does. Suddenly, the resin cap increase, and then a free 5-star selector. These are moves that Hoyoverse typically won't make, and yet here they are. The timing is as subtle as a brick being thrown to your window. And when you realize it is the same playbook they pulled when Tower of Fantasy launched. Because back then, Genshin had this mini freakout session where they temporarily remembered how to run events that gave actual value. Because despite of the meme tier state of Tower of Fantasy right now, even that was enough to make Hoyoverse sweat a little. And Wuthering Waves, it is not a meme. It is a competition with teeth. So yeah, the competition works. And if this is what it takes to get better design and actual quality of life improvements, then maybe we would need more of it. Because when you realize how fast the gears started turning at Hoyoverse the moment Wuthering Waves dropped, like not even a full week before Genshin quietly announced a resin cap increase, something players have been begging for since basically forever. And then suddenly they are teasing a new quality of life changes faster, like Wuthering Waves at launch. They gave out a free 5-star selector ticket, and then suddenly Genshin gives out their own 5-star selector ticket. And then Wuthering Waves realized, wait, they matched our generosity. So at 1.2, Wuthering Waves gave out a free Shangliao. Like, this is concrete proof that competition is great for the space. Let's not pretend that this was spontaneous generosity, because these are requests that has been gathering
Kaz, I hope Shrive Online relaunches. I really do. I do.
Dust in the feedback forums for years. And now, right when a major competitor shows up, boom, there's change. That is the power of heat, not the outrage, not begging, competition. You put another serious option on the table, and suddenly the devs remember how to act like they want you to stick around. Wuthering Waves didn't just throw down a challenge. It forced the genre to wake up, because now it is not enough to just have nice graphics and decent combat. Now they have to fight for your attention, your trust, your loyalty. And they know it. And this is just the start. Because 2020.
I'm sorry. I think Anant is going to be the drizzling shits. Like, I don't know if anyone else feels this way. I know me and Jenna had a pretty decent conversation about it on the Gacha Cast. I think Ananta is going to be the biggest disappointment in Gacha history. I don't think this game, and I pray to God I'm wrong, because it looks so good and I want it to be fucking perfect. But we've seen nothing. We've seen nothing. I just don't know if it could fucking hit that. Like we've seen Azure Premilia, we've seen Silver Palace, we've seen Arknights Enfield. Like, you know, those are going to be bangers in their own regards. Even Ethereal Restart a little bit. There's nothing here. There's nothing fucking here. And NTE's probably going to fucking flop too, but yeah, very gacha game version of the day before. Yeah, nowadays overpromise and underdeliver. Yeah.
25 100%. And 2026 are 100%. Looking stacked. Duet Night Abyss, Ananta, Ethereal Restart, Azure.
I also think DNA, to me personally, maybe it's a little bit of a sleeper game. I never really enjoyed Warframe, so we'll see how it goes. As No Man's Sky fan, I will never be hyped for games. No Man's Sky Gamma is a perfect example of a game that overhyped way more than it should have, or even Cyberpunk. I overhyped way more than it should have at the launch. It was dog shit at launch, and then progressively got better to the point where they promised, but at that point, it was so hard to get players back, right? Hope NCE second beta shows better gameplay. We'll see, man. I applied last night. I hope they let me in, because I did pretty solid coverage on it, but I don't know.
Your Premilia, Blue Protocol, if it ever figures out what it wants to be. Even NTE's got people curious. It is not just Genshin versus Wuthering Waves anymore. It is everyone versus everyone. And that is the shift. We are not talking about knockoffs trying to leech clout. These new games are launching with full systems, strong aesthetics, and actual design philosophies that don't treat player time like a disposable resource. Every single one is a new opportunity to break away from the same old gacha formula. And the players, we finally have leverage. The days of sitting around, hoping the one game you are locked into eventually decides to respect your time, are done. If something isn't cutting it anymore, you can walk, you can leave, and this time, there is somewhere better to go. At the end of the day, this is what real progress looks like. We are no longer in that era where one studio could dictate a pace, the rewards, the systems, and just expect everyone to smile through it. That monopoly is broken, not because one game killed another, but because how you actually have a choice. And that choice, that is leverage. If a game disrespects your
Your editor spelled choice wrong, by the way.
Time, your money, or your feedback.
Yeah, just
you don't
so
have to
poggers.
sit
We're gonna watch
around and
it.
wait for crumbs. You can just walk away, and that
We're gonna
threat
watch
is
it.
done. The simple fact that leaving is
Welcome in,
now
welcome
a
in, Wiz.
viable option is enough to keep devs on their toes. Even if you're still all in on Genshin or Honkai Star Rail or whatever your main game is, this shift still benefits you, because when studios know players have
Firestarter. Welcome in,
options,
brother. Welcome
the
in,
bare
welcome in,
minimum
homie.
stops being enough, and suddenly they're forced to innovate, to be generous, to listen. And in the long run, that is how the genre grows up. Not by chasing the next big thing, but by holding every game to a higher standard and
Great video,
refusing to
Glaive.
settle for less. But that is all from me.
Great video, my femboy husband. I love Glaive. Everyone give Glaive a follow, please. Great guy.
What
Great person. Bam, bam, bam. And with that being said, I'll see you boys in the next one. Mwah.